Thank you for joining my channel. I will be opening this space every week for people who would like to improve their performance, to increase motivation, to support the people who are trying to succeed despite stress, difficulties that are happening in their life. I'm a registered psychotherapist qualifying in Ontario, and today we will be discussing about solution-focused performance and turning psychological stuckness into action. In this live session, we will explore one of the most important challenges that people are facing, leaders, professionals, clinicians, or anyone who wants to succeed. How to keep succeeding and going even when motivation disappears or you feel stuck or frozen. And this session would use strategies and questions from solution-focused brief therapy, performance psychology, and neuroscience of behavior and habit formation to help you to better understand what's really happening when you feel stuck and to change your relationship with these challenges. Stop blaming yourself and to start taking action even when the motivation is low. We will explore how top performers continue functioning under pressure, including insights from athletes such as Simone Biles, Michael Phelps, and Novak Djokovic, and how their performance systems relate to brain mechanisms like the basal ganglia, the prefrontal cortex, and dopamine system. And rather than focusing on fixing emotions, this session would focus on how to build productivity capacity under emotional variability. And you will learn how to understand the neuroscience behind feeling stuck or frozen and identify exceptions where you already perform despite low motivation and use solution-focused brief therapy questioning to reconnect with strategies, strengths, and resources you already have. So people often say, I feel stuck, unmotivated, I feel frozen, I can't start, I can't move. And they assume that this means laziness or lack of discipline or weakness. But neuroscience tells us a different story. What's actually happening in your brain is that when you feel frozen or stuck, there is an increased threat detection. And the part of brain that's called amygdala becomes highly sensitive and it starts to scan for danger, failure, overwhelm, even if there is no real danger exists. And there is also a reduced executive control during times when you feel under threat or as if you are frozen. This is happening because prefrontal cortex becomes less efficient, and this leads to difficulty starting tasks, difficulty planning, or there might be kind of mental blackness. And regarding the dopamine levels, your dopamine system reduces reward prediction. And this means that your brain cannot clearly see reward, so it reduces action energy. So if we summarize, frozen state doesn't mean that you can't try. It doesn't mean that you are broken, there is something wrong with you. Just your brain cannot confidently predict reward or safety from action. And that's why it takes this automatic state of freezing to help you to keep safe, even during situations where there isn't really threat or anything wrong is happening. So solution-focused approach, we don't ask, why are you like this? Why are you stuck? Why you feel unmotivated? We ask, when does this state loosen even slightly? What's being different during times when you feel better, when you feel motivated? And we are finding resources, strategies that you already have, qualities of you that you can use to make it more likely to achieve your goal. And even in the moments when you feel frozen, what still continues? Maybe you still get up, maybe you still respond to messages, maybe you still continue to function in some areas. And this is important because here we can find resources, what's helping you to continue doing things even when you feel stuck and frozen. So this is the core mechanism behind feeling frozen. It actually makes a lot of sense once you see it as a survival response prediction system, not a motivation problem. And uh, this is happening in your brain not because of your identity, because you are lazy, because you are not disciplined, but because it's how your brain works. And once you understand it, it will be easier for you to start to react differently, to stop blaming yourself, or to feel safer. And it will be easier to take action even during times when you feel stuck or unmotivated. So when someone feels frozen, their brain is not failing. Uh, their brain is doing this. And it says, I'm not sure this action is safe, predictable, or worth the energy. So it shifts into a protective low action mode. And this involves three systems working together. The first one is amygdala. The amygdala is your brain's alarm system and it becomes overactive if it detects any kind of uncertainty, social pressure, fear of failure, high expectations, emotional overload, or past negative experiences. So, most probably, when you feel unmotivated or stuck, is when there is you think that the situation is uncontrollable, or there is a kind of uncertainty, or maybe you are being pressured by society, or you are feeling scared of failure or criticism, or there is a lot of emotional overload, stress, or there are things that are reminding you about past negative experiences. So your brain doesn't need a real danger, it only needs that this situation feels unpredictable. Or even maybe you sometimes you have automatic thoughts related with past experiences. Something reminds you about past experiences, and since your brain is not very good at distinguishing whether this is happening in real moment or it's a thought, it may have the same reaction of stuckness, freezing. And when amygdala is overly active, your attention might narrow. It can be difficult to focus, to concentrate on your work. Your body might shift into protection mode. Your thinking becomes survival focused. So instead of telling, let me start this task, it becomes, what could go wrong if I start? And it's accepted as a threat. And in prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for execution system, it goes offline, and prefrontal cortex is responsible for planning, decision making, starting task, organizing behavior, self-control. So it shuts down under stress. When amygdala is highly active, the brain prioritizes survival over thinking. So energy is redirected away from thinking system, and this is called functional downregulation. And in simple terms, your brain is saying we don't have enough safety to think clearly right now. And it results in tasks feel overwhelming, starting feels heavy, thinking becomes foggy, decisions might feel impossible. And this is the mental blackness people describe. And when dopamine levels also decrease, dopamine is not just means pleasure, it mainly prediction of reward from action. It drops in frozen states because dopamine decreases when the brain predicts effort will be high and reward is unclear and outcome is uncertain and failure risk is high, emotional cost is high, and therefore the brain is constantly calculating, is this action worth my energy? And if the answer is unclear, dopamine automatically drops. That results in low drive, low initiation, procrastination, decrease of motivation, emotional flatness. Uh, and your brain might be saying, I know what to do, but I can't start. So how all three systems connect all together? These systems don't act separately, they form a loop. First of all, amygdala detects uncertainty. After that, prefrontal cortex reduces execution, which makes it difficult to focus, to concentrate. And dopamine drops because reward looks unclear, there is uncertainty. And after that, action feels harder and avoidance happens, motivation falls. Brain learns that avoidance is relief. When you are avoiding, when you are procrastinating, it feels as if you are safe. And therefore, this forms a habit. Frozen pattern strengthens and it continues. And frozen state doesn't mean that you are lazy, you lack discipline, you have low intelligence. It means that a predictive protection state where the brain is unsure that action is equal safety plus reward. So, why is your brain doing this? We have explained why is your brain functioning in this way. And however, there should be exceptions, times when you feel better, you feel slightly more focused, you can continue, you are being more productive, energized, or focused, even when the state of freezing is there. So when does this system loosen even slightly? What do you do differently in those moments to make that happen? Which qualities are you using? Which habits, which environments, people, activities are helping you to achieve this sense of energy, focus, productivity, even when things are unclear, even when you feel stuck and unmotivated? And what's already working despite this state? For instance, think of someone who can't start studying or who can't focus on their work. They feel stuck, but maybe they are still answering messages. Maybe they are still going to work. Maybe they are still cooking. So this means that their system is not fully shut down, and frozen state happens because the brain is prioritizing safety prediction over action initiation. And until the brain sees safety, clarity, or small reward possibility, it reduces movement. And you are not stuck because you lack motivation. You are stuck because your brain is temporarily prioritizing protection over execution. However, as we have discussed, there should be any exceptions when you still can function better even during the times of stuckness and feelings of frozen. So expanding on those moments, trying to see the details to understand yourself, what's exactly happening during those moments, what makes it, what helps you to make that happen. How are you doing this? Which qualities, which features are you using? Can help you to give insights on how to achieve this state again. And when you start slowly using these resources, you will remind yourself that that energized, focused version is still there. It hasn't disappeared. It's just the way your brain works. And if you were able to do it in the past, you can recreate this change and version of you again. So, why people feel stuck? People don't get stuck because they lack knowledge. They got stuck because of loop. Maybe there are too high expectations, and this activates threat response. Their brain reduces clarity. Action feels harder. Avoidance happens. There is a temporary relief, as we have already discussed, and brain learns avoidance equals safety, and it's learning under stress conditions. So let's start. What are you hoping from this conversation? Even if this stuckness were appearing from time to time, even if you were feeling frozen, uh, what would you like to experience instead? Which version of you would like to see there, even during those moments when your brain is automatically freezing? When you say you want to unfreeze, for instance, and improve your work or study performance, I'm curious what would it look like for you for in a very practical way. What are your best hopes from this talking? If somehow something has changed internally as a result of listening to me, what change you would like to see in yourself? Which version of yourself would you like to see? Maybe it's a focused version, productive version, more energized, more active version. What would you start doing that feels hard right now? What would you stop struggling with as much? If you say something like, I want to be focused, disciplined, energized, consistent, I will say with that and ask, which one, if even slightly improved, would make the biggest difference in your life right now? Which of these qualities is the most important for you? When you imagine that focused and disciplined version of you, what is the version doing in the morning, for instance? What would you notice in the evenings about yourself? When you are energized, what's different in your body or in your behavior? When you are disciplined, what do you do even when you don't feel like doing? What helps you to get motivated? What moves you? If I followed you for one day as that version of you was showing up more often, what would I actually see you doing differently during that day? What would be the very first small sign in the morning that tells you today is different? And what did you do when you were able to take action or unfreeze faster? What did you do that made it possible? What was there about you that helped you? So there is a term called basal ganglia, which is related with automatic behavior. Basal ganglia is the brain's automatic system, and it converts repetition into automatic behavior, consistency into reduced decision load, and practice into identity level execution. And why is it important for people who feel stuck or frozen is that when you are frozen, motivation fails, thinking slows, emotion is unreliable, but habits still continue to work. And in performance psychology, a lot of performers, athletes are using this exactly method to help themselves to keep going even when they feel stuck or unmotivated. For instance, Michael Phelps trained even when he was depressed, unmotivated, emotionally, feeling numb. And after his Olympic success, he openly described that he had a lot of emotional struggles, some suicidal thoughts, but during performance periods, he relied on routines, on habits, not the mood. So, if you are able to automatize the behavior, if you can create habits, they would also help you to keep going, even during times when your mood would change. And he didn't ask, do I feel like training? He followed, this is what I do every day. And why your work matters, like why you are trying to achieve whatever you are trying to achieve. Maybe it's reminding yourself about why during challenging times. Maybe asking yourself why you were feeling motivated, why you were keeping going. What do you already do without thinking? What actions happen even when your mood is low? What habits survived your worst days? And when you answer these questions, you can use these resources more often, or you can decide to develop new habits that would help you to cope during the days when you will have lack of motivation, you will feel stuck or frozen. So, if you want, for instance, if you want to be focused, energized, disciplined, resilient, or more productive during times when you feel stuck or frozen or unmotivated, let's try to understand these versions more clearly. When have you focused? When you are focused, what are you specifically focused on? What helps you to stay focused, to stay productive? When you are disciplined, what do you do even when you don't feel like it? So these are exceptions, and we can use these exceptions to understand what's really driving you, what's really helping you to get out of this frozen state. When you are energized, what's different in your body, in your behavior, in the way you relate to others, to yourself? How do you speak to yourself? What are you doing differently? Which activities are you performing? If I followed you for one day as that version of you was showing up more often, what would I actually see you doing differently from today? What would be the very small sign in the morning that tells you today is different? And are there any moments, even small ones, when you don't feel completely frozen? What's different during these moments? Let's look for evidence that this is not constant. When was the last time, even briefly, you were able to focus even a little? It doesn't have to be a perfect day. Maybe it's 10 minutes of focus, starting something small, finishing one task even when you feel unmotivated, or resisting distraction. And what was different about that moment compared to when you feel frozen? Was the task clearer? Like, what exactly helped you to initiate? Was there less pressure? Did you start without thinking too much, overthinking? And what did you do that helped that moment to happen even slightly? So we don't just ask what changed, we are trying to see the differences. For instance, what was different in your life structure? What was different about your routines, environment, timing? What exactly? Was there anything related with timing or places or habits that helped you to take action? Was there different? mm, what what difference did it create in your productivity, relationships, stress levels, and what did it say about you? So if that version of you still exists, what would it know you are currently forgetting? Maybe it would remind you about resources, features that you have that are already there and you can use again. And let's look at life of Cristiano Ronaldo. He grew up in economic struggles, emotional pressure, high expectation environments, but he was able to develop extreme repetition habits, discipline structures, and training identity. And his resilience wasn't born innate, it was reinforced through environment, repetition, and identity modeling. So, can you try to remember who taught you persistence? If you want to be productive, how did you learn to be productive? From whom did you learn to be productive? What was there about you that helped you to learn about it, to get curious about it, or uh, to take some of habits or knowledge or activities, anything related with persistence or productivity? How did you do that? How did you made it happen? Where did you learn to keep going? Who modeled discipline in your life, and what was there about you that helped you to achieve this? So, when we are asking questions about resources, we now shift from deficits into assets. And resources might be behavior, systems, people, environments. For instance, Novak Djokovic, he used strict routines, recovery systems, and mental training protocols. So he planned in advance what he's gonna do when he will feel stuck or unmotivated or frozen. And he prepared himself in advance what he could do, how he can overcome this. He doesn't rely on solely on motivation. He relied on systems that function without motivation. So, what are some systems, habits, activities, people, environments, timings that already support you? Uh, which environments, people, habits, or your behavior make things easier, and who stabilizes your functioning? What things are slightly easier for you? Who is usually present in your environment or routine? Is it a certain place, certain time of day, certain type of task? What exactly is helping you to achieve and to be the version of you that you want to become? When you have managed difficult situations in the past, what kind of person were you being in those moments? Were you being persistent, structured, stubborn in a good way, or responsible, productive, focused version? And who in your life would say you actually are more disciplined than you give yourself credit for? What would they point to you? If we could ask them which resources, which talents, what you have already that you can use, what would they say? Because oftentimes it's difficult to answer about your own capabilities and to notice your own resilience. However, when you are changing perspective, maybe it will be easier for you to find resilience and capabilities features when you consider yourself from other perspectives. And where did you learn to keep going even when things are different? Who taught you this? Who modeled you this? And what happens if behavior continues slightly improve? Imagine if you were, if this disciplined, productive, energized version showed up more often. What difference would it create in your life? What difference would it make in other people's lives? How would your life change? And when you act in a focused and disciplined way, even when you don't feel like what's happening exactly there, if that version of you become more consistent over time, what would your life start to look like? How it would change? David Goggins built identity through repeated discomfort exposure. Oftentimes, as we have already discussed, we stop doing things, we feel frozen, we feel unmotivated when there are uncomfortable feelings or uncertainty or fear of criticism, emotional stress and pressure. And however, when we are exposing ourselves to discomfort in the face of our why, we are slowly teaching our brain that these things that we were feeling scared and anxious are not so much significant, and our brain slowly learning new neural pathways and new behavior on how to act and to respond differently even during times of stress and uncomfortable feelings, uncertainty. And this creates a behavioral repetition. That's what we were talking before. So when you repeatedly act despite discomfort, despite anxiety, despite feelings of frozen, you are slowly teaching your brain and creating habits that would be easier to use again during these challenging times. So he didn't wait for motivation, he created identity through action. If you were able to act regardless of feeling, who would you become over time? And let's bring all together. Anytime when you feel you wake up, you feel numb, you feel stressed, unmotivated, you don't want to do things or you don't negotiate, you begin. What usually helps you to cross the first 60 seconds of starting something difficult, even during these times? You can also write down your answers because these answers are valuable. They might help you. They would help you to understand yourself better and to find resources, the clues that would be useful for you to achieve the change. So we didn't try to force motivation today. We explored when focus already exists, when discipline already shows up, when differences create movement, when resources are already there, and what your next steps might look like if you continue to use these resources. And I hope this video was useful for you, and I tried to use methods and strategies of solution-focused brief therapy to help you. If you have further questions and if you want more support, don't forget to write your questions in the comments, and see you in the next videos again.